What's going on, friends and fam? Thank you guys so much for joining every day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. Hey guys, another great day, another great interview. I'm excited for my next guest. She is an Army veteran that served her country proud and continues to help veterans through her passion to help those in need. Through the Fight series, she speaks out about mental health crisis within the veteran community. However, besides being an author, she is also a medical lab tech, a mother of three, and helps run a Longhorn ranch and snake farm with her husband. Let's meet Betsy Ross.
Hello.
What's going on,
Finally.
Betsy? Welcome in there. Hey, I'm glad to have you on. So let's get to
Yes.
know Betsy Ross. And that name right there, it just sounds like a I don't know. When I hear that name, it just sounds like one of those like superstar names, Betsy Ross. I
I don't know
don't
about that.
I don't know. I like that name. But
Yes.
anyways, let's get to know about Betsy Ross. What made you join the army and you weren't ready to be a Marine yet, but
No.
what All right. So tell us about Betsy.
Well, I, so much in that. Well, I was actually an Air Force brat, so the my whole family was sort of very military focused, if you will. But Army just seemed to fit me more. So I was the rebel, black sheep in the family. And I don't know. I was going to a junior college for my geology degree, and I felt like, you know what? This probably isn't for me. I want to see if I can do more because I never thought I'd join the military because my parents always talked about it. I'm like, but I'll never. I didn't. I was just. I guess I was too afraid. But when I got to college, I started getting more fit and like, okay, maybe I can pass the PT test and whatnot. But but my time in the army though was very short lived, and I felt like I could have done more. So I think that kind of had something to do with me creating the Fight series, trying to stay sort of kind of in the loop with the veterans and whatnot. But I saw a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, and even as I got out, I realized that there's kind of a lot of issues with the veteran community that I know I'm not alone in what I had faced. Um, yeah, we have VA and whatnot, but it just didn't seem enough. And then even after I got out, I think it was like a month after I got out, one of my friends committed suicide. And then it was 3 months after that, another friend committed suicide. So it's just like I wanted to scream, but yet I didn't have anyone to contact. My chain of command was done with me. I didn't really have friends. I didn't have veterans to contact. And so it was just really rough. And so I've always wanted to be a writer, and the Fight series kind of it really wrote itself. It kind of just came to me and I went with it. And through it I've met a lot of veterans such as yourself, and it's been quite a journey.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Now let's back up just a little bit and we'll kind of get into the Fight series book. But um, initially, what got you to actually? I mean, you graduated high school and you went in the army right away, or what year did you join and all that stuff?
I actually joined in 2010 officially, but I was doing more or less research back in 2009 because I was in a junior college. I
Okay.
did go to college, but I told them I was at least going to finish. I don't like to leave things hanging like partial degree. I wanted to at least complete the actual degree and see if I can get more fit and see what I can do mentally because I had that future soldier training. So I was a part of that even uh, during the whole process. But but yeah, I think it was just a whole bunch of things really. But the army just seemed more fitting for me. I did look into the Air Force and the Marines, but I don't know. It was just something spoke to me and said you just have to go army. So I did.
What was your job when you went in?
I I was ammunition specialist.
Oh, sheesh. Okay. All right. The
Yeah,
armory.
pretty much. Though the civilians got all the fun side of it though in garrison because I guess we weren't allowed. I guess they didn't trust us on the state side.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple people out there may have did a
uh,
couple things.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. I think it's fair to say at each branch, there's a high level of, messing around and all that stuff that gets us a little
Unfortunately.
bit in trouble. And
Unfortunately.
then it makes it hard for the next ones that come in because then all of a sudden they can't do nothing no more because of all of us screwed it up for them.
Exactly. I ended up just being like a truck driver. I was like, okay, I guess I can do this too.
Yeah, Motor T. You get in the Motor T world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
Well,
much.
support, yeah, in the support world, that's. I mean, I was in supply, so we were in the Marine Corps. We were when we deployed, we were with Motor T, all the support elements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very
Pretty much.
familiar. And I even had to learn how to go drive the 7-ton and all the Humvees and all that stuff.
Yes.
And
Yes.
someone tell you to go find the keys to a Humvee, which there's no keys to a Humvee, but when you first get in there,
I
it's
hated
one of
those
the ones that
games.
gets you real hard.
Yes. I hated those games.
Yeah, there's a lot of games, especially in the Marine Corps. I mean, my
I can only
gosh,
imagine.
yeah, they made games out of games. You know what I mean? Like everything was a
Yeah.
game. I think when we did field days, it was a game. Countdowns and go back and do it again. You weren't fast enough.
Yes. A lot of that.
Yeah, no fun, right? So what it made you end up getting out early? Is that something you want to talk about? Don't talk about?
I can. I'm actually pretty open about most things. I was actually chaptered out because I was injured. I'm actually not actually diagnosed yet, but um, I do have some sort of nerve injury from working out off duty. But my unit was trying to deploy to Afghanistan, and so they chaptered me out so they can get able bodies in. So I feel like I kind of got cut, but at the time it was a very dark time for me anyway. And so, because I had a lot else going on as well, plus being injured, and then my unit kind of treated me differently
Mm,
afterwards. They thought I
yeah.
guess I was faking it. So I was limited. I was like physically of what I could do anyway. So I kind of just got shoved aside, um, and they basically just kicked me out. So I was like, fine, I guess I'll just accept to just be chaptered out. And it really
Did you
hurt
feel
'cause
did you feel that you could keep did you feel that you could still do stuff? I mean, it just or was it, them kind of forcing you out because they wanted someone that could deploy. You probably weren't deployable, but you could probably
I
do
wasn't
stuff on the state
deployable.
side, right? I mean, or were you just at a level of you were broke bad, I mean, and they had to kick you out?
I was, I guess, somewhat combination of both because I really, at the time when the injury first occurred, I couldn't move my arm. Like it was
Mm,
hard for me to even close because it was my left arm. So for me to even close my vehicle door, it was very difficult. I had to use reach
ah,
around or reach around. So it was very bad at the time. At this point, I guess I'm just used to the pain. I can move my arm fine now. I still feel it, but I still feel pain 24/7. Um, but at the time, I was having to put my arm in a sling, and it was just really painful. And but they didn't know what was wrong. VA denied me; they couldn't find anything. So, which nerves you can't just see on an X-ray or anything. But it was kind of a combination of a lot of things. Uh, I kind of just went with it because they were just treating me like I was just a POS anyway. So
yeah.
I was like, fine. Even though the military was everything to me, I took it a little too seriously. I was very gung ho. I know you're not supposed to be, but I was because it meant everything to me. I'm a very passionate person, and it gets me into trouble all the time. So,
I know.
so
I know how it is.
yes. So even when I was injured, I still pushed myself. And guess what? That got me more injured. And then all of a sudden, I really
Yeah.
couldn't move my arm. And so I was like, okay, I can't prove this to you. You're not going to believe me no matter what I say. Um, I wanted to believe this was a strong brotherhood or whatever. And now I'm just a nobody. And so getting out again was just all the more painful. But no
It
true hard
does.
feelings. So, but still, it's kind of a dark time for me.
I get it, and it's never easy, especially when you're set out to do something and they cut you short, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you want it to finish it out, or who knows. That is definitely a thing, and I get it. Um, but it's a thing that goes down in the military a lot of times when someone gets hurt. You could be a fucking star, a zero to from a hero to a zero real quick when you get hurt, and it could set you off to the side because you're no good to them no more at this point in time. Like, oh, or they think either that you're just trying to get out of everything.
Yes.
Oh, so and so is hurt. They don't want to fucking go on this hump. They don't want to have to go do this exercise, whatever. I mean, those type of things are a thing. I mean, even in the Marine Corps, it's just one of those things that, the NCOs and all that, they start getting pissed off. Oh, pick up his shit because he can't do it.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Yes.
one of those things, and I get it. And so, I mean, how did you manage to? I know that you probably, when you got discharged, you
Mhm.
found yourself like, what the hell now, right? I mean, were you kind of like throwing your hands up, like, what do I do now? Or, what was where were you at right
Basically,
then?
I felt like I was pretty much at a wall, but I felt like I could just go back to school. Maybe that'll help guide me a little bit, but ironically, that I don't know if that was really a good choice or not. At this point, I guess it really was. I do like to believe everything happens for a reason. But at the time, though, when you go back, I mean, you're not fresh high school. So going back and then comparing it to the military, these kids are just complaining. They're not showing up on time. They're just complaining about politics because politics are strong in the universities and whatnot. So it was very hard, even just though I wasn't in very long, it was still very like, y'all wouldn't survive basic training. I already know y'all wouldn't. Y'all are freaking out about the most smallest things, and they were just complaining about the most craziness. And then with everything else just I was facing at the time, I was like, hey, this was not a good idea. And then of course I didn't have anywhere to live. I was living out of my truck. I was jumping
Mm.
couch all the time. It took me like 3 months to find a job, and then that job ended up closing. My employer ended up filing for bankruptcy and closing down a few months after that. So I was like, if there's a God, he is challenging me to no end. And I was struggling so bad. And I'm nowhere near a post or any sort of military base, really, except like 2 hours away. So it's like, I was so lost. And then, of course, communicating with my family was like no one understood me. They're like, "Why are you angry all the time? Why are you yelling at that person? Why are you just basically being an asshole like all the time to these people who are supposed to be nice or supposedly being nice to you?" And it's like my sanity felt like it was gone. Like I didn't want to be nice to anybody because I felt like no one was being understanding to me. And that's another part I know I really put into the fight series, that it's the small things. We don't always mean to come across as assholes, but it's like people are just putting things way out of perspective or just talking down to you. And then of course that we're different. My sister had, as innocent as she is, she kept saying that I was different, and it was driving me insane that anytime someone even said the word, it was like a trigger. I was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
I'm different. I
Right.
know. We
Yeah.
got it. So I was constantly battling myself of, yes, I'm different. I've lost my purpose. I failed the army. I was so gung ho. I almost cried when they handed me my dog tags, and now I failed that. Like, what can I do right in this world? It was just a battle constantly. And then, of course, veterans are like, "Well, you didn't deploy. You were not a infantry. You were just a pogue. You're a nobody. You were a female. You're fine. Whatever." And it was just those stereotype things. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not a strong badass. Whatever. I don't care. I failed the army. I wouldn't have made the Marines. But don't at this point, I was just like, I am a nobody. So who can I come to say that I am a somebody? What can I do? And so I think I really put my heart into the fight series. Like, this is going to be my purpose. One way or another, I'm getting the word out that the veteran community sucks because even veterans hate me and I don't like it. So it was just a bunch of things that I knew I had to face with as well. So um, yeah, it was it's definitely been a personal journey, but good has come of it. So I do again believe everything does happen for a reason, as odd as it may end up. But it's been fun.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a good thing though that you're taking something and then you're turning it into a positive thing. There's other
That's been the
people out
goal.
there. There's a lot of people out there probably sitting in your seat too. That their time got cut short, and they got, and then they feel like they've lost their purpose. And like here you go, you go from one type of environment and culture, which our mindsets are a little bit different than the the kids in college. I mean, let's just kind of face it. Like, and you can definitely attest to that because you definitely went from one environment into another environment, back into that environment again, but this time with a
Mhm.
different mindset than you had that first time. But it's like that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. When you go through a lot of things in the military, and even more so when you go into a third world country, you come back and you really start looking at and evaluating and getting a little disgusted by it, like people's behaviors. You're like, you're upset because you have bad Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi's a little shoddy here. Hey, I grew up in a world that at first there was none of that. Then there was dial-up. Try your patience on some, and getting
Yes.
disconnected. You know what I mean? But these kids, like I got kids, like we go on a big trip to the beach, and it's cost us a lot of money to do this. Wi-Fi was not to one of the kids' likings, so that determined his trip. It was a bad trip because of the Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh boy. You know how many kids wish they can come on this kind of trip? You know what I mean? It's just like,
Mhm.
it's even happening with my own little ones. You know what I mean? But just in general, the way our culture is, we're so spoiled. And a lot of people don't realize how spoiled we are. Just to have electricity, just to have air, just to have carpet in your home or something, or
Mhm.
even a nice tile. You know what I mean? Like
Strongly
some of these
agree.
people are literally going to the restroom in a hole in the ground. You know what I mean? But it's hard as is a veteran, and we start looking at all these people. It's just really hard. It's hard for us, I think. And then you got to start setting yourself back and say, wait a second. They haven't been through or don't know what you know. So you got to kind of take a step back
Yes.
sometimes as well and realize. And that's what it is. That's why some of these podcast shows and stuff like that are really good. It's an opportunity for us to be transparent with and bridge a gap with the civilians and people that never served. It's a great way for us to kind of bridge that gap and say, hey, we are humans, but why we think differently is because of A, B, and C. You know what I mean? And that can start helping the other population as well, starting to educate them more on why is that guy such an asshole, or why is he so, black and white and there's no gray area, or something like that. They can start to realize and start to see because some of us have been put in different positions in our life. We have actually got removed from our comfort zones, the place that we all were so
Mhm.
comfort, and we got put into discomfortable positions with other folks. And then those are the people that we kind of have, for me, I always go towards those kind of people and stuff nowadays, and I have the most in common and some of the best friendships, um,
Yep.
because we think a lot and there's no, oh boy, did I just say something that's gonna upset them, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's getting rough to be a social. I'm a very socialist person. I mean, I like to go around and I mean not socialist. Wow, I like to
I
socialize
what you
is what I meant to say. I do. Yes, I do live in California, but um, but I do like to be a socialized. I love to socialize with people. But now you got to almost walk around and make sure you know is this person going to get upset with me saying this? I mean, I really don't care because my intent is not to offend people. I don't go and say hi to you and talk to you a certain way, with the intent to offend you. So that's never my set out to do. So if I do that, I'm not even cognizant that I did that sometimes because I'm just not. That's not my intent. But the way that people receive things now, it's rough.
I agree.
But let's talk more about the book and kind of the what got you to write that book. Kind of take us through the series and how it kind of drive us down that road.
Well, as far as starting it, it was kind of a combination of just what can I write about? Because I wanted to write something, and then I realized that there were a lot of things that people weren't talking about as far as PTSD and suicide thoughts and whatnot. Um, but Fight itself wasn't really meant to be a series. It was meant to just be the first book, which is only 97 pages. But I wrote it in such an emotionally intense way that to make readers, basically force readers to kind of see it from a veteran's perspective, because you get inside that character's head. It does jump around, but I do that to make each character more personable for the reader. Um, it's also short because of veterans. I wanted veterans to be able to read it because I wanted to connect with veterans, you know, to connect them with one another, to ensure that, you know, their pain is not their own. I mean, the VA may not help them, but there are other veterans that we can count on, because we used to be able to depend on one another, and you can't always depend on the system to be there for you. So again, I wanted to be able to communicate with veterans, but also I started, as I was writing, I was really wanting to ride that line of maybe families can learn from this. Families of veterans wanting to understand their veteran, why those changes, differences were taking place when they were coming home. Um, so Fight really, I guess some people may see it as corny in some cases since as the series goes on, but it's because I was really trying to ride that line of civilians understanding veterans, but also um, giving veterans hope again, being able to understand one another on deep levels. Not saying all veterans do struggle. I know I had that in the beginning. Not all veterans struggle, and I understand this, but many don't. Many feel like they don't have a voice, that they're not heard. And so you get drug addictions, you get alcoholism, you get some living on the streets, you get some who just can't communicate. They don't understand how to voice their thoughts or anything. So it really rides the line of giving hope. You're not alone. There are other people out there who are willing to help, and getting families to communicate again, to actually understand and be open, to not give up on their veteran. Their veteran just isn't able to communicate every thought they're having, because sometimes anger is the first I feel like anger is always the first emotion most people sense, pick up on, um, that really just comes out. Even if you just say good morning, it's like it's the first lash out type emotion that wants to happen. So, and I think people, it scares people, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, fine, I'm not talking to you anymore, and that's kind of the wrong answer. It's the irony, I guess. The more I've written Fight, it's psychology. I'm understanding a little more than I really care to. Now I'm like afraid of myself, but I did learn a lot about myself. I learned about, it was like a self therapeutic journey for myself. Um, but I realized that people, even when I first had the book out, I had a lot of veterans coming at me saying that PTSD shouldn't be talked about in this way, that it's suicide is a very dark topic, that not all veterans are like this. Why are you portraying veterans in this way? And it's like, it wasn't meant to be that. I know very, very successful veterans or have their own businesses. They're very successful and whatnot, but um, I wanted to be the voice for those who didn't feel like they had anybody. Like myself, when I got out, I tried to communicate with veterans. They weren't listening to me. I tried to communicate with civilians. They were not understanding my dark humor, my jargon that I was still using at the time. It was like they weren't getting it. And so it was like I lost myself. And so I'm like, there's no way I'm the only one feeling this way. And so I really put a lot of my own self into the story, and hearing a lot of testimonies now, I feel like, okay, I wasn't really crazy after all. I was just in a very dark space of time in my mind where I was just very alone, and found out I wasn't alone. I just had to find the right people to get the word out. So, but now Fight 4 is done. Now I just got to wait that 72 hours that Amazon gives me before it's officially available. But Fight 4 is done, and that's pretty exciting. It's a weird, golly, I did that in 2017, so it's been almost 6 years for
Wow,
these
that's
4 books.
amazing. So now you added another one. Where are you gonna stop at with the series?
It's 4 was supposed to be the
Of
last one.
course. Okay.
I've Yeah, I've fought myself on it, but it was like 4 has to be the end because it would never end, because it is realistic fiction. It's fiction, but it's written in a way where I feel like anyone would be able to relate to it. Um, I try to keep it as real as possible, which
Look
is
at that
another reason
5-star
why.
rating, guys. Come on.
So far,
Yeah,
I need
let's
more
go.
reviews.
Yeah, let's go.
I need
I'm
more
definitely, I
reviews.
know my buddy Steiner just got the series, so I'm
Yes.
excited to hear about it myself. I want to definitely get some myself too and check this out. I love it. It is a thing, and I hate the fact that people don't want to talk about certain things. That's the problem. How can we learn from something we don't talk about? You know
I
what I
agree.
mean? Because people aren't going to get educated. People aren't going to learn if we don't. They're going to learn by the way you don't want them to learn, and that's the thing that I think we're trying to alleviate. And you're providing a tool and tools for others, and saying, hey, like you're saying, we're not alone, guys. We're not crazy. Well, we're crazy, but we're crazy together. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's okay to be crazy together. I think everybody in the world is crazy. I'm sorry. We all have a level of
I
a
agree.
degree of crazy. And like I always say, like, yeah, like my wife's crazy, but her crazy is I'm willing to deal with, and she's willing to deal with my crazy, so you got to find that person or those people that, I mean, and I promise you, there's group for everybody, and
Yes.
especially in the veteran world. I'm seeing now, especially uh, starting the podcast world, I've seen so many nonprofits, so many different organizations, and it fits for everybody. There's
Yeah.
hunting, there's skateboarding, there's uh, book reading, there's book clubs, there's all bike clubs, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of different things out there for everybody, and I think we all go through a period of shutting ourselves down and and turning ourselves off. Because I know I did, and I mean, I've lost a lot of different relationships and all that stuff. People not understanding, not getting it, and I'm still not like want to go necessarily to everywhere, anywhere, everywhere type stuff. But I think we all have that point, and I think that a lot of us are trying to tell you, don't be there for long, man. You don't have to, and the longer you can get out of it, the more you're going to save relationships, save your health, save your, just life in general, man. And the other thing is, and I know this is cliche, but we're just never guaranteed tomorrow. Why live life in death? Live life for life, not live life in death, because death is going to come and we're going to be dead longer than we are alive. Right. I
Very true.
mean, so we got to make the most of it. And the quicker that we can get ourselves out of these, our heads,
Yeah.
it's our space. It's our space that we have to clear up, and the more cluttered it gets, the harder it gets to deal with things. Anything else that gets thrown in there is even more of a travesty. Everything around you becomes a travesty. Every situation, travesties that aren't travesties are happening
Yes.
because of it. It's just, and it's, I think that it's fair to say, as human beings, a lot of us all come from a story. Not everybody came from a white picket fence, and I probably the
Mhm.
majority of us didn't come from that white picket fence story, and some of
Right.
us have childhood traumas, and a lot of that stems to where we're at today because a lot of us just put it back there, and we were always told, "Suck it up, don't talk about it, move on."
Very
And
true.
so there we are, and you hit a point in life where you're like, "Good Lord, there's a lot of sheesh I didn't deal with. That's
Yes.
and why am I going down the same path of a behavior I didn't like? But here I am repeating that pattern because And that's where I think it's a generational responsibility for us to try to do better than the last generation, right? Not carry on the same, and try to get rid of some of the bad stuff and try to make it better for the next generation, and not carry on some of the generational trash that we just are taught, that maybe we're misled to believe in or something. And then, I just, we go through our life, and then you start, all of a sudden when you have that wake up, you're like, oh my gosh, it's just like, I don't know. It's for me, it's been a big eye opener this past year for me in so many different ways, with my faith, with my politics, with everything. Just realizing, oh my gosh, I think I've been playing a game of division, a
Yeah.
game of hating my neighbor, hating them because they don't like this, or they don't like, or they're not for this, or they're not that. It's a dangerous world that I feel like we're starting to go on, but I hope that some of us can to put a pin on it and say, hey guys, wake up. We need to love each other. We need to help one another. We need to encourage each other. Stop tearing each other down. Stop hating because someone's doing good. Why the hell do we not like when someone's doing good? You know what I mean?
I agree.
But let's get back more
Mhm.
to the book and stuff. I mean, I know I went off on a tangent there, but
It's
it's
okay.
just,
I'm bad about that too.
talking about this stuff though is just, it's super eye opening. You know,
I'm hoping so. I know it's a very dark topic. I know no one wants to talk about it, but there is a story. It's not like I'm just saying, depression, 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 suicide, suicide, suicide. Like there's a story. There are characters that are going through their own character process and thinking process, and not saying everyone's going to think like this or do this. It's more of just like these things are going on in the veteran community. These thoughts are going on in the community, but it's not just for veterans. I mean, obviously, PTSD, depression, suicide is not just for veterans. So, of course, if they're a civilian, they're reading the book, you're probably going to relate to some degree, like, hey, I've had similar thoughts. Hey, that actually described an exact emotion I had. It's not just for veterans, but I do focus on veterans because that's just where my passion is. But mental health is, there's so many different perspectives of it, but with the fight mission, because it is more than just books. Fight is to help push people keep fighting the fight. Veterans unite. Who knows a vet better than a vet? Vets. I have actually said this numerous times throughout anything I've posted. Just that when vets get together, amazing things happen. Like
oh
it's so
yeah,
crazy to
I
watch.
feel
Even
the
just to
same way.
watch, it's just like,
Right.
oh my god, it's happening. It's so like hero stock. Seeing all
Yes.
of that, all these
Yes.
veteran
Yes.
artists and everything coming together. And I'm not even there. I'm gonna miss it this year and it's driving me crazy. But it's just like seeing all this happening as September, what is it, September 9th coming up. I already I already know it's going to be amazing, but it's just like when you see good things, veterans coming together to help veterans or first responders, it's things get done. It's amazing. Help is there, resources get there, word gets out. We just have each other's back, and that brings back everything that I had loved about being in the when I first got into the army was that, you had that brotherhood, you had that, you didn't really know everyone's backstory, but it was like you knew they were a veteran and you had their back no matter what. And so, like, even now, I'll come across veterans, like I work in a hospital, but, first looking at them, you don't think they're a veteran. But when you do, it's like all of a sudden, it's like I'd have your back. Like, if anyone said anything bad about you, I'd be like, have your back, even though I don't really know you. I just know you like walking through the hall. But because they're a veteran, I've got you. Like, I'd have your back no matter what. And I think that type of, I don't even know what to really call it. I guess they are like relationships, but just that community that we have, that mindset that we all share, maybe not the same branch or anything, but just that, I don't know, similar quality we all can all say that we served. And
It's a
that is,
camaraderie that we
it
just
is,
have with one another. You know, and it
Yes.
it doesn't even once it comes once you get out and you go from being an active duty into being a veteran, it's a different world. You know what I mean? Because now you're all together now as we're all in it together, and we're all going through some shit. We're all battling the VA. We're all thinking everybody, in the world is, doesn't appreciate nothing, I mean,
Yes.
but we all have that common ground, whether it doesn't matter what branch of service you are,
Yeah.
and we could all just sit down and act like we've known each other forever, and that's what I
Yeah.
love about it. It yes, we still give each other crap, especially Marines. We are we might be a little bit into ourselves, you know what I mean, but
Just a little bit.
just a little, we might be a little cocky, but for the most part, I think that when we all come together, it's a beautiful thing. And if you're not finding that common ground, you're still stuck in something. And there is some negativity, unfortunately. As any community has its,
Mhm.
bad people. Same thing with the veteran world. But
Mhm.
we weed those ones out, and we just, there's no place for that kind of stuff. We don't need your negativity. We don't need your tear downs. We're building up here. This is the build up phase. We all got tore down in boot camps, you know, and built prop, but now we're veterans and it's a build up community. This is no more tearing down. We need people to be freaking a ledge for people, not slides. So if you're not that kind of person, you're not that kind of organization, and that's not your intent, then there's no room for you in this community. You know what I mean? Because this is a community where we want to build up everybody. Vets gotta help vets.
Yes.
We got each other. We fought on the the battlegrounds when it's time to go to war. I seen it firsthand when I deployed in 2003. Watched all of the branches come together and work as one. And let me tell you, I get goosebumps talking about it. But it's a beautiful thing, and there's no reason why we can't be as big or even more of a powerful force when we get out. You know, and
I
just
agree.
because you guys, maybe there's two organizations doing the exact same thing, the thing is y'all have the same mission: help each other. You know what I mean? Because maybe your community's out of the reach for that person, but don't go tearing down the other communities. You know what I mean? It's just, that's one of my biggest words out there for the veterans out there, because there are those ones out there that are trying to tear us down or trying to tear that down, and they give. We also don't need any more of a reputation with civilians and stuff like that. We don't need help with that in a bad manner. We already get that kind of bad rep just swearing in. So I mean, you know,
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you're able to write these kinds of things. And like you said, I'm a huge believer in it. It is important to talk about this stuff. I'm not one that's gonna say shove it down, don't talk about it, because I've seen what it's done for me as a person and being able to talk about stuff. I talk about myself through a lot of this podcast. The way I started is kind of my own storyline. Man, I tell you what, I tell some stories that I'm not exactly proud of. And I'm sure when people hear like, they're like, oh, you know, but I want to be real. I don't want to be, this is me. You know what I mean? Hate me, love me, whatever it may be, but this is me, you know? And I think that it's important to be as transparent and translucent and just let people know this is me, man. And it's okay. Am I proud of those things? No. Am I sitting there gloating about it? No. I'm trying to tell you guys because I think it's important for you not to go down that same path. You know, like, here's a warning sign for you that I didn't have. I didn't have a warning sign. you
Yeah.
know, wasn't given warning signs. So, sometimes I know even like my daughter who's in college, or she's in her second year of college. She goes to UC San Diego, trying to give her tools in her toolbox. She's just like, oh, But then she'll come back and be like, yeah, yeah, honey, see, I'm trying to tell you things because I don't want you to have to go through what I had to go through. I want you to at least be aware of your surroundings. Something I'd never got. I didn't get those warning signs. I didn't get that awareness. It was more like, hey, go outside and figure it out. Go ride your bike, go
Yeah.
play, go do your thing. But now it's like, hey, I want to. My thing is now is trying to educate others. Trying to with my story. And do I have the best story in the world? No. But hey, you know what? People can learn from everybody's story because I think everybody out there has a story. I don't care. If you grew up in the best home and had millions of dollars, you got some damn good stories, I'm sure. I don't care if you're the brokest person in the world. You have
Yeah.
some great stories too. You know what I mean? Everybody around here. That's why I love having people on my show and a chance for them to talk about themselves and talk about their life. And because, like I said, everybody has a story and we all can learn from one another. And it'd be foolish for us not to. And that's one thing that kind of burns me about the present now is how many things have happened in our past that we're still repeating today. And we're not getting any better, anything, nothing better's coming out of it. So, I mean, from what I heard, you keep doing something and it doesn't change. That's considered crazy,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know. I get going on these tangents, get these Marines talking. We can just never shut up. It's about Betsy Ross. Come on.
No, no, I agree. I agree. Fight doesn't. I try to stay away from politics for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything I post, because I'm here for veterans uniting. Last thing I want is for us to find a reason to not agree. That we served, we did our best. We can still have each other's back even now. Some of us were great leaders while in. We can still be good leaders when we're out. We don't have to. Um, just be like, well, I'm not wearing the uniform, so why does it matter? I don't have to look out for anyone anymore. No one's my problem anymore. And I think that's the wrong answer. I think that if you were a good leader then, you can be a good leader now. You can check on people even now. You were, I'm beyond stoked that I have come across so many more organizations now than when I had gotten out in 2012. That granted, I really much only knew the VA. And then, of course, I
Yeah.
think it was the Wounded Warrior Project. I think those are like the only main groups I
Same.
was ever heard of.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I'm not truly disabled. I didn't really deploy. I was a nobody. And then, of course, when I called the VA to get a counseling, an appointment, they said, well, you weren't medically discharged, so therefore you can't speak to anyone unless you're going to commit suicide right now. And at that time, it was more of like, well, I just needed to talk to somebody, but I've never heard this before. I know they were wrong, but at the time, it was just like, even then, the VA said, no, I'm not talking to you. So it was between that, going through a divorce, who my husband just left me and in a different state, so I didn't even know where he was. I had no friends, my family or whatever. So it was like I literally had nobody. Civilians, family, veterans, everyone disowned me. The VA basically told me to go F myself. So it was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to just die? Because I thought of committing suicide more than once,
Mm.
numerous times, but I kept waking up. Things kept happening to mess up my plans. So something's telling me I really need to do something. Like I'm supposed to be here. I just don't know what for. And then it was like a few years later, all of a sudden fight came in. But it was just like I had to somehow just survive. I survived eating peanut butter out of my truck. I survived just basically sucking on fumes and crumbs, trying to figure out what is going on with my life. Why is everyone disowning me? What is wrong with me? It's me. I know it's me. It's got to be me. So it can be a very lonely time when you're picking apart your own flaws and other people's flaws. So I wanted to communicate with veterans. I don't feel like I have a cool story either, but I know there's other people who feel very alone, even in a crowded room, even surrounded by their family. There's just something missing there. And so I felt like I had a decent feel that I knew how to describe emotions I mean, I wrote poetry, so I was like, let's write a book. And then I started creating these character scenarios. And then from based on some of the testimonies I've had, I've described emotions very well. So I was like, okay, this is it. This is my purpose. This is great. And then I started getting testimonies where I was saving marriages and people were thinking of committing suicide. And they're like, your book saved my life today. And I was like, oh, so this is why I went through all the hell I did, because I was there and I can describe those emotions for the people who cannot find the words. So it's been a very long journey, but at this point, I know Fight has a purpose. I just got to get help to get the word out to the people who need to hear it.
And that's what these podcasts are all about. And I got some other friends for you that I'm sure are going to be more than happy to have you on their show if they probably haven't already contacted you already. But we're definitely here to do that. And we want to get your word out because it's important. I mean, and anybody out there that's trying to help our brothers, our sisters out, I want to help them out, get that out too. And I think it's important, you know, and that's what we got to do. We got to help each other because to expect the VA to help every single one of us, you know, it's probably unrealistic. And if you look at how they are undermanned in some areas in the VA and underappreciated and all the things that go down with what they're going through, and they got to, and let's face it, some of us veterans are some real assholes, and I'm sure we're some real peaches to deal with on the phone, and especially after we've been put through the ringer a couple times. Yeah, me too. Like that's why I think my wife handles my phone calls and everything, because I about light everybody's ass up, because it's just, you know, I feel like either the process isn't right, they're making, you know, and I'm always just in that fight mode, so to speak. So, you know, and that's one thing is always, I think a veteran, you start to get exhausted.
Yeah.
Is that you're constantly in a treadmill of fight. And even, you know, even in your daily life, it's still kind of a fight. Something you said that kind of rang true to me is how our mindset is, and it's hard because we can feel super alone, right?
Yes.
Even in our own homes with our families.
Yes.
Why? Because they don't think like us, and we feel like, oh, I'm all alone because no one else thinks like me.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, when you get out of your box, though, and you kind of say, get out of your garage, get out of your backyard, get out of your, you know, wherever your room, your man cave, whatever you're stuck in, once you kind of get out and you start connecting back with the people that you once put your life's hands in, you know what I mean? Like and now once you get back and connect back with them, I mean, cause for me, man, I'm blessed to have found, you know, the guys that I have found, the Contagion Effect, the Shadow Mark podcast, Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room, Jason Steiner, 22 Second, everybody, Tom, all these guys. And now I'm, you know, we've brought you into our group too, but I never used to be on my phone texting and chatting it up. And I mean, you probably see me on there like, gosh, damn, this dude don't shut up. But, you know, for me, it's a reconnecting. I haven't even met a lot of these guys face to face, you know, but instant connection, instant, like feeling comfortable, instant feeling part of the family. You know what I mean? And, you know, once you see us all texting and chatting it up, you see how we are. We just, you know, it's all love. We even tell each other we love each other in there, and building up, and we bust each other's chops, you know. It's great to find, you know, be back in that again, you know, because I had friends I grew up with, and man, we just had a big falling out in life, you know, as I got out of the Marine Corps, try to transition back and kind of find my place in the civilian world and where do I fit in here. It was rough, and I fell out with a lot of people I grew up with, you know, and now my my biggest friends are people that don't even live in the same town or even in the same state as me, you know.
Yep.
But it's been a blessing to reconnect, so to speak, because I think a lot of us do disconnect ourselves when we first get out, and maybe that's just because you're bogged down with trying to figure shit out. You know, where do I get a job? Where do I, a stable job? Oh shit, now I got a family. Oh, how do I provide for my family? You know, so I think a lot of us when we get out, man, it's just a hit the floor running, and we got to figure it out, and we're almost like fish out of water. It's like, oh shit, this job is not the same, or, and then we go in and start working with civilians, and the way everybody's talking, you're like, and then you say stuff or whatever, and you're just like, oh no, you're offending people, and you're just like, they don't get my military humor. Oh no, oh no, and then you find yourself shutting up and keeping yourself. You go eat lunch over here by yourself, and you're like, fuck it, I don't really want to be friends with anybody here.
Yes.
And then we find ourselves in the civilian world just kind of being loners at our jobs sometimes.
Yep. I agree. Well, I'll be very curious of what you think of Fight One then, because kind of what you described with coming home. A lot of people there's a certain scene where one of the characters comes home, and that seems to be the most popular scene people bring up that they can relate to the most. And it's trying to rekindle some of those friendships they had before the military. And I know that was rough for me, but for a lot of people that I still even contact now, it's, you try to go back to what you felt was normal then, because you want to feel normal. Well, I say normal.
Right.
Most people just want to feel normal again.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're so overwhelmed with what you have to do, find the job, figure out all the have-tos to survive. But at the same time, it's like, but I want to feel normal in all of it. I want to feel just like I'm a human again, that I'm, that I'm okay. But yet it's hard to find that normalcy, that I'm okay, when people constantly are saying, okay, you're weird, or you're different, or you've changed, and there's no commonality no more. And I feel like I get along more with people I don't know. Like you had just said, it's people I've never met before. They're just veterans, or they've read my books, and I feel like I connect more with them than I do people I go to work with, or because I'm the only veteran at work. So it's like, if I make any type of off the wall remark, I know I'm the weird one. So it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Never mind. Take that back.
Yeah. Oops, forgot about the audience.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, dang. I know. It is really hard, especially when you're newly out of it. And especially I can't imagine for the 20-year people, the ones that did the careers out of it, and then they get out, and they were at the top of whatever they were, and now they're getting in the civilian world, and they're like, you don't got no fucking experience in this, you're a peasant here, you know what I mean? And then there they are again, they're feeling like, oh my gosh, their leadership, their everything that they worked so hard for up to 20 years just gets like, blah. Nah, bro. Now you're a civilian.
Yeah.
Now you're just Paul here. No more, you're no more last names here.
That's true. Oh yes. I couldn't imagine.
No.
I couldn't imagine.
4 years, doing 4 years and then trying to get out, because my gosh, the way you get wired in the, in the military, it is, I've been out, 2004. So almost 20 years, and I still have a lot of Marineisms that I just can't kick. You know what I mean? And I was just rewired or whatever it may be. I have caught myself, especially raising my kids, like, everything's not life or death, just because, I always was thinking like, they didn't listen. If you don't listen, we could die, like, yes. Relax. They're not going to die here in the house, but yeah, let's go ahead and, we talked a lot about your book, but let's talk about you being a mom and then the whole Longhorn Ranch and Snake Farm.
Yes.
Oh, I want to even know more about that myself.
Well, it actually had started with when my husband got out of the army. He served 8 years as infantry,
Okay, nice.
but because I had gotten out, I was out, had a daughter, but then he was getting out, and I've always wanted cows, but we just never were in a situation where we could. Well, I finally had gotten a house, and he can come home to, and he was like, okay, let's start having cows. And we started doing that. And I started realizing, because I had just started my lab tech career at the time, I was like, okay, I've started my career. You can stay home with the kids. And I started picking up real fast that it actually became more like animal therapy for him. He's never had to get a job because we've always had to work from home. Plus, he watches the kids, and daycare is stupid expensive. So it
Oh
works
yeah.
out. But my husband has PTSD and he cannot work. And he's got other issues as well, but he's just not able to work. So it kind of really worked out. It's like, honey, you can just deal with the cows. And I started realizing like he was not afraid of them. Like he'll go up to any bull, any situation. He is not afraid of them. And he just loves on them. Like I've seen just animal therapy is a thing. And
Equine, they call it, what is it? Equine therapy?
I cannot remember now, but
Deuce,
it's definitely worth
Deuce Outfitters Ministries. They're doing something like that. So it's really cool.
Yes, and he's kind of been the face of all the businesses that because he's sort of the entrepreneur. I mean, we're kind of both are. I have a bachelor's in business as well, so I do all the books and stuff. But he's the face of everything as far as who to contact, as far as information and such. But I've learned up about different breeds and such, so it's been really cool. And plus, he picked up really fast on genetics, and I'm like, honey, why don't you just go to back to school and you would be amazing if you got a degree in all this, but he will not. He tried
Yeah.
and he will not. He's
Yeah, I
like,
feel,
no. I
yeah.
said, okay.
Yeah. I went and got mine, but man, I couldn't do it today. Wouldn't go back.
No, he's like, no, I'll just learn as I go. And he's picked up on a lot of things very fast. And then here, not too long ago, he's always wanted to be a herpetologist, even when he was a kid. So he started looking into like ball python industry, and we're now into ball pythons. That's why I call it the snake farm, just to differentiate them. But he can tell you anything in just about a
Is
short
it
amount
just
of
ball
time.
pythons? No,
Just ball pythons. Now he's wanting. I
the
don't remember what
Burmese and all
kind.
that, the other things.
I
Yeah.
think there's blood python.
There's the
There's that.
Burmese. There's, yeah, there's several different
There
kinds, but I
are.
know the ball python. So how big, what's your biggest one you guys got in there? You guys got some big ones?
We do, but that's a his question. I don't really know. I don't keep up with all of that yet. I don't know yet. I'm still learning all the
Do
different
you like
morphs.
snakes, or are you not
I have
much of?
one. I have one of my own. Any
Okay.
animal, I get one of my own because that's me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm have you seen the picture with me and Prince, my snake? A lot
No,
of people are
I
losing
don't
their
think I
minds on
have.
that.
I'll have to go check it out.
But yes, yes, no, I have a snake. He yeah, he's mine. Mine alone. But but Jesse, my husband, he can tell you any more for about anything. But again, he loves animals, and just seeing
It sounds like
him
a way
care
of
for them,
therapy for him. I
it
mean,
has,
honestly.
and I think it's really helped him. And I mean, I still have to help him fight the VA and whatnot too, because they've denied him for a hearing aid, and we've had bounce back in doctors and all this other stuff. And so I've seen on just as the spouse side, even though I have served too, it's like there's so many issues with so many things with the VA that I can't better not get on soapbox with that. But animal
No,
therapy
my
has
wife is
definitely helped.
a big advocate of it too, and she, man, my wife gets pretty actually emotional when she starts talking about how rough it is, because she's been a huge advocate for me. I'm the kind of person that I don't like rejection. I hate rejection, right? So as soon as they start giving me shit on the phone, I lose my shit, and then I hang up or something, or I blow the situation up. So my wife, she's intervened in that world because she sees what cycle I get spent into when I get in that situation with them. So,
Exactly.
man, I think a lot of wives and that are going through it and have really fought the fight. Like my wife has just I think her outcome and the way she thinks about it all is changed so much. She had no inclination of being a veteran, no inclination of being in the military. But now she has to deal with this, and she has to advocate, for me. And who knows, with my ailments and stuff, how much of an advocate she'll have to be for me. So, but my gosh, I think, just having her talk about it sometimes, it's an eye opener for a lot of people who don't have to deal with it or don't have no clue of what's going on, because it gets frustrating. And it's good that he has you in his corner, and you sound like a fighter, and that's huge. It is so huge to have a partner in your corner that's there to help you and not, my wife gets it sometimes. I'm sure I test her tolerance levels, but she gets it, and she understands, like, okay, he's having a moment. Honey, go over there, calm yourself, all right.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, you feel like a damn kid, like, but it's good to have someone there to kind of set you in your shit, and set you straight, man. Like, hey, you're acting like a fool. Lock it up. Okay, you're right. You're right. I'm losing my shit a little bit. And then, you come to reasons. But it's good that you have that. And sounds like, I don't know. It's so important to have that partnership. People that are going to help each other out. You never know how bad his ailments will get in life. And so you want to be with someone in your life that you can trust fully. We don't know where our where we may come, where we can't talk or something, or where, something happens to us, due to all the things we all been through. We may need that person as our voice, as our reason. So, man, it took me a couple marriages to get it right. But, I finally found the one that loves me and accepts me for me, takes on all my bad shit. And same with her. I got to do the same thing with her. Just because she's not a combat veteran or something doesn't mean she hasn't lived a life or hasn't gone through some shit, But
yes, strongly agree. Especially because my husband, he needs to see a counselor, but there was time he'd stopped going because every 6 months or whatever it is that they schedule him, because it kept getting so far out. It was a new doctor, and he got tired of just
Reset.
having to he's like, you have to talk about it again. Like, don't y'all have notes? And the doctors are always like, well, just tell me your way. And it's like, read the notes. Okay. If they wrote notes, right, like, come on. Why does he have to start over every time?
I feel him because same thing. Been there. It's, and that's the most fun. I hate that part. Bro, you guys keep wanting me to relive and talk. And I walked out of an appointment and hit someone with my car because I was in a fucking fog, because they keep pushing me and making me, and putting me in a corner and making me talk about stuff over and over. And I'm like, gosh, damn, how many times and how many different people, you guys, this is getting to be outrageous. And then I get it. That's when we all start tapping out and say, fuck it, I'm done.
Yes.
I'm over it. But that's where podcasting came in for me. I'm talking to other people and stuff, and it's actually the most therapeutic thing I could ever do. I don't got to go to a PhD person.
Right.
For that. This right here, even talking to you, every guest I have, it is like a counseling session for me. It's a healing something for me. I'm talking, I'm saying, it's great. These type of things. So like for your husband, maybe he doesn't feel comfortable with the VA and stuff, but hey, start watching some of these podcast shows. Start looking and seeing what some of us talk about, brother. And maybe you'll get there and come on and talk to us on our shows, man. You know what I mean?
He may not.
Pushing that one. Yeah.
He'd be like, that's her thing.
No, but it's watching some of these podcasts, even I've watched them, and you start hearing some of these guys and they're just like, they start talking about the real deal stuff, and you're like, man, bro, I've been going through that too. Shit.
Yep.
And you almost kind of feel like happy for a second, like,
Yes.
you motherfucker.
Yes.
You too? All right. Yeah. You know?
Yes.
uh, but so what are you guys doing with the ranch and stuff? Is it just for you guys? You guys sell off the snakes, or do you guys keep them? Is it how does
Yes.
that work?
All the above.
All
For
the above.
snakes,
Keep
it's
some of them. It's
breeding.
like, yeah.
Yes, breeding, the selling. Cows
Oh, I
was
like the
starting off
color of
with
that one. That one's in the go by. That one stays back.
yes, and he's got his goals for which morph combinations he's going for, and he's keeping an eye on the market and stuff. So he's he's got all his goals and plans. I'm just kind of just the bookkeeper, and okay, that's enough snakes. We got enough snakes. Let's start selling. We need cash inflow. Let's go.
Yeah. Like we're
So
just
he
starting to get inventory here.
yes. Oh my gosh, he was just as bad with the cows too. But
He's like,
it's
well, I
okay. We have
can't get
enough
rid of
cows. He's
this
like,
one.
but
I
we don't
love
have
this one.
this one. That's why I love
Yeah.
that meme. He's like, but we don't have this one. We need this one. I was like, no, we have enough. So yes, we're always discussing things like that. But it's just been so great that I mean he supports me in my writing and everything that I do, but I do try to help him too. That we need to support each other, and I think that's kind of where vets have to help vets out. Like
Let people live their best life, man, and let them enjoy
yes,
it. It may not be, it may not look great to you, but if it's their best life, fuck, let them be, man. Let them have their ways, man. Let them do it. If it's not hurting anybody else or anything like that, not, not, you guys are still getting food on the table and shit and, all that.
yes,
The good thing is he's finding something for himself that brings happiness. He found his happiness, and like
yes.
everybody's happiness doesn't look the same. I said that
Agreed.
1,000 times. We all, and no one else is in charge of our happiness except for us. So whatever someone finds that happiness, hey, let them have their fun, man. They love playing video games as long as it's not like they're taking away from everything. Let them go play a little bit of some video games with their buddies. They're not out
Exactly.
the bar going out there drinking and killing someone on the road or something. They're out there just killing fools on the game, or whatever it is. I'm just saying we gotta. That's one thing is let people be happy. When they find that happy niche, let them have it. Let them have that
Yes.
happy, man. Because goodness, everything around this world it could be so negative. So let's
Yes.
uh let's be happy and embrace the happy parts and
Yes.
live those moments while they happen. Ride that wave, when
Especially
it comes.
veterans, we need those positive outlets. I mean, stereotypically, we're driven to like drugs, alcohol,
Yep.
sex, whatever, the bad stuff. But if animals are your thing, you're not hurting them. They're just helping you get through the next day. I think that works. When he brought up snakes, I was like, we got cows, so we're kind of selling some of the cows so we can get into a snake industry. It's like, okay, we're both entrepreneurs here, so let's do it. And so I knew it was, I mean, he's not like going out drinking, like you said. He's not just, abandoning the family or anything. So I know he's safe here. He's okay here. He's focusing on that. And because there's times that he still has his days where he'll
Sure.
admit where he thought about shooting himself. And it's like, okay, well, I know where all the weapons are, so how about we go outside? And he loves just sitting with the cows, just watching his cows, and now he can play with snakes. So it's like, pick a room, and we're going to stay right here. And animals has become his thing. And so it's, if you can find that positive outlet for someone, don't take it away from them. Don't, sometimes that
Don't
really
piss on
is
their parade.
exactly. And same as reaching out for someone. If you're that one person that someone can come to, don't take that away from them. As far as like, okay, I mean, everyone has their days where you need your breaks from social media too. But if you're willing to be there for just be an ear for someone, definitely be that for them. Complete strangers. Sometimes they just want to just talk about the weather, but they just needed someone to talk to who is a veteran or someone they know has seen or done something that they can relate with. And I think that connection is what we need, especially in today's world, as you had already said, that we're just being so divided across the world. And, fight. I had more followers of fight and readers of fight in India and the UK than I did in America. I have more Canadians reading my book than Americans. So I thought that was cool too, that, people in other countries support American military and they can relate with some of the issues that they encountered, my characters encountered. And so it's really cool just to connect on such a what some would probably consider just a very basic, simple way. Like, okay, everyone feels depression. Everyone has these thoughts, you know, especially in the UK military. I thought that was cool. They're like, the jargon's different, but we have pretty much the exact same similar, how we treat each other, how we talk to each other. And I was like, that's so cool that people around the world can relate to the fight series as well. Now Americans are starting to pick that up, but it's it's been slow progress. But just having finding that commonality though, I think has been really cool. So I know when veterans get together, I know things can happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I'm super excited about Hero Stock. I
Yes.
think that is going to be a major networking thing, and I promise you, there's going to be some great things that will come out of that event. And like you said, because it's going to be bringing some veterans together, and things happen when you bring some vets together, and I love it,
Yes.
man. I love the community. I love it. Um, so, what's your plan? Do you now that you kind of finished your series? Do
Mm-hmm.
you got plans on another adventure of the books, or what are you going to do? Are you going to kind of keep going down the same line of what you're going, or do you plan on taking a different approach on the next venture? Or what do you do? What do you we got going?
Well, I still have to somehow complete my poetry and short stories, which is just like a side project that I have had started forever. But um, but I have started another book. I'm hoping it'll be my first official novel, called Fighting Me. It's kind of like a mental health thing, um, but it's more from a different perspective. I kind of wanted it to be more of a, I guess, just different outlook on everything. It's going to be a little quirky, probably a little dumb. I don't know. Satire, silly, but Um, but I guess it's more from a just a female veterans perspective on just life in general, not just veterans focused, not just military focused, but just silly in its own way, but mental health related. Um, so I don't know what I would do after that, but I really need to finish that short book and short stories and poetry book. But I don't know. Fight's kind of been so much for me for so long that I really don't want to lose it. Uh, I feel weird not having it now. It's been my mission for 6 years.
Yeah. So, and has it been very therapeutic, that book for you? I mean,
Yes.
within itself, is it? I mean, you've probably learned from yourself.
Yes. Like I said, I put a lot of my own personal emotions or story into it. Now, obviously, I did not experience everything with it with all the characters, because I did have interviews with other people and got feedback because my husband's seen war and been downrange and whatnot. So I've heard stories from him and his buddies, and I've heard just different things. But a lot of it is me, and I learned a lot about myself. Um, and it also helped me. It was sort of my outlet. I didn't get into gaming. I didn't really have a lot at the time when I got out, but writing, that was my outlet. Everything I was mad at the world for, everything I was upset with, any stereotype I saw in the veteran community, I wrote kind of my side into the story, into the characters. And so it was very therapeutic. I think it definitely helped save my life a few times, just being able to just write it out and it ended up being part of the story. So, so to hear the feedback though is really nice to know that I was not alone. That everything did happen for a reason in its own twisted way. It sucked and don't want to relive it, but it's done, and I am who I am because of it. And now I have the fight series, and now I'm finding friends in the veteran community again, all around the world, because of this series. So it has definitely been quite a journey.
And it's not over. You know what I mean? Your
Nope,
journey's probably just beginning. And little do you know, right? But
maybe.
no maybes. Come on. We're going forward. I see big things for Betsy Ross. The name itself, Betsy Ross, it just has that ring to it, you know?
Yes.
So I I think you got, I mean, honestly, the way you talk and everything else, I mean, I promise you, you're going to go places with all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that it will work itself out as it goes. You know, you don't have to force it. I think it's going to come to you. You know what I mean? And you'll see as your series drops and as people start to read it and start to get it out there, and you start getting that feedback. That that's going to set something off in you too, and you're going to probably go on other podcasts and you're going to be talking more and more, and that might set you off too. You know, and
Maybe.
you never know what you got going on, but
Very true.
that's right.
No, I
Hey,
agree.
so I've been noticing a pretty cool tat. I think on your shoulder. Is
Yep,
that
I got
that? Oh,
two.
you got two. That flag one.
Yep. Oh yeah, I got a
Check that
tattered
out.
flag. Yeah, tattered flag.
Nice. I love it. Hell yeah.
That's before dishonor.
Oh shit. Nice.
Yes, I love
I
it.
got my death before dishonor. Oh, there goes my camera doing its thing.
Yes,
Like we the people.
we the people. That's perfect.
My camera's tripping out now. Hello, I'm here. This stupid thing. Let me go fix this thing now. Gosh darn it. Hello, here I am. But yeah, awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to say? Obviously, everybody out there, you got to go check out the Fight series. It's on Amazon, and right now you can get all three of them for $27.43. Boom, just
Yep.
knock it out. And now that the fourth one's coming out, when is the fourth? You said it dropped today.
I had released it, but Amazon gives that 72-hour,
Little
but it could be
time.
less than that, but they
Why
always
they got
give
to go
that.
through in the
Yeah.
legalities of it all? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll be seeing that coming out here soon then. So then we'll be able to get the whole series all in one stop.
Yes.
That's
Finally.
exciting. That
It
is
really is.
exciting. And
And terrifying because it's hard to get feedback as it is, but
it
to
is,
have the
yes.
new one though, you're just like, oh, is this right? Is this part of the series? Is it still good? But being the finale though, I've just the from the beta readers have said it's it's exciting, but again
It is
terrifying.
scary because ending the conclusion is a big piece of the story.
Yes,
And some
it
people
is.
can that tying it all back together and making sure it kind of, because sometimes you watch some of these or you see a series and you just feel like they just rushed the end because it's like they were so good at building it all up, but when
Yeah,
it came to the ending they were just like, here's it, boom boom, like, oh sheesh.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm
I
sure
didn't
it's
want that to be
terrifying
like
as an author, especially that's your baby, like that whole series is your baby, like you said,
it
and it's
is.
been a part of your life. How long did it take you to complete the whole series?
It's been 5.5 years, almost 6 years.
Wow. Yeah. My
It
gosh. And then,
is.
so when are you going to have like a book signing and all that stuff? Or are we going to see you at the mall or somewhere?
I know, right? I know, right? I need to do
Here's
that.
Betsy
I'm
Ross.
I need to. That's why I'm trying to go to all these events so I can do that. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely. That
be
would be really cool. Have your own little booth, the Betsy
that.
Ross booth.
I know Jason had mentioned it probably next year,
Yeah.
maybe doing that. But of course, I'll be in. I don't remember. I'll be in Alabama September 23rd, and someone had asked if I'd do book signings there, and I was like, hey, if you show up, I'll sign a book. And of course, I'll have copies with me. I always have copies with me just in case. But when I go to any event, veterans event especially. But yeah, it's hard to get feedback though. So if y'all can leave reviews, that'd be great. Even if you don't like it, because that is one thing that's unique about the fight series is it's going to hit you differently. You're going to have a different perspective. You're going to have a different feel about it. You may not be able to relate to the story or the characters very much, but it'll still make you feel something. It'll still be thought provoking in its own way. That's why I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it, or even Jason or anyone else. Because I mean, y'all are passionate about veterans too, and y'all worked with veterans. So if you read the fight series, is it something you've seen? Is it something you've personally have dealt with as well? I mean, it's such a wide spectrum with the veteran community, and the more veterans I meet, the more, especially those who work in veterans organizations, is you kind of see that full spectrum where not all veteran is the same. That's why the VA doesn't necessarily work as sad as it sounds. Um,
Same thing with PTSD.
yeah,
PTSD
it affects
is
people
not
differently.
one
Yeah.
way. You know, PTSD is a broad range of different things, and it doesn't have to be you see in combat to have
Mhm.
PTSD. You know what I mean? People get in
Yeah.
car accidents at home, and then they're scarred and have PTSD. Don't want to get in a car ever again.
Yeah,
You know, there's things like that.
precisely. And so if you can just leave reviews, I think that would also help get the word out because I think people have been really scared about reading the fight series. And I get why, but and one thing is it's not a self-help book. I get that a lot. It's not meant to help you. It's not to take place of counseling or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's more of spreading
The story.
awareness. It's a
It
story.
sounds like yeah, it's a story that is relatable to our lives.
Yes. Yes. There is one comment or review that someone had left that his dad had committed suicide and he was looking for answers, and it's like that was very hard to read the review
Mm.
because of suicide is not black and white. There are 10 millions of reasons why someone would do that, will go
Yep.
down that dark path, and
Yep.
it there aren't those type answers. If you're looking for answers why someone committed suicide, I mean, it might open doors to maybes, but there's no telling what anyone was thinking at that time. So it's not that type of book. So uh, just FYI. I mean, it's to help that things like this are happening, homelessness, drug addictions, PTSD. I mean, it's just to bring that all that to light. Whether it's just coming home, seeing old friends, seeing family again, haven't seen them in years, um, and all of a sudden you don't know what to say them to them. I mean, it's just those daily things that I think people just don't know how to talk about, don't know how to open that door. They don't want to talk about it, but I mean, I've had couples give each other the book fight to say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, and it saved their marriage. And I thought that was a very cool testimony that it can describe certain emotions if you are having issues finding those words, even for yourself. If you're just going through a journey self-therapy journey, then it might help you in that way too, but it's not a self-help book though.
Awesome. Well, you know, Betsy, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time to tell your stories, talk about your book, and talk about what you got going on in life. Um, this has been a great interview. I am excited to check out the fight series myself, and my goal is to run into you and have you sign my series.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? So that's the whole premise. I'm gonna get the books. By the time I see you, I'll have read them maybe more than once, and then I can have you sign each and every one of them.
Yes. Yes.
uh,
Be
but
awesome.
like I said, I'm glad you came on. Is there anything else that you may want to say to anybody out there that may be listening?
Well, my website's finally up. Make sure you check that out. It also has the links to the books and whatnot, and any event that I will actually be attending. www.fightwithbetsyross.com.
Outstanding. And let's go check out her books over on the Amazon side. You know, there's Kindle and there's I want the real thing. I mean, I don't think I
Yes.
could read it on a Kindle anyways. I don't know how people would do that, but I need the real book. So because it feels like an accomplishment when you start putting in your bookmark, like that much
Yes,
of a book. Yes.
I
uh,
agree.
but no, like I said, I'm glad you came on. I hope we can get you on some other shows so that way we. Oop,
Me.
I took you off there. Wrong one. All right, so we could get you on some other shows so that way we can get these books out to everybody. Um, each and every one of our podcast shows touches different people, so
Mhm.
um, the more that we can get your word out there, the more we can get your books out there. People can start reading and hell, maybe they can learn something from it. Maybe it could save a friendship. Maybe it could save a marriage. Maybe it could save their life. So
Exactly.
thank you so much, Betsy, for all that you do for us. And like I said, thank you for your service. Appreciate you. And I'll be back there with you in a second.
All right.
Thank you once again. All right, friends and fam. Well, that wraps up another great interview. Go check out Betsy Ross. She has amazing stuff out there. Go check her book, Fight series, all four of them. Go get them. Get your copies. And one day you can maybe get her to sign them for you. I know that's my goal. But she's an amazing human being, and she cares about the veteran community, and she's dedicating and putting her time into it. And once again, thank her so much for being a guest. And I hope all of you are having an amazing day. Make sure it's not kicking your ass, and make sure you're out there kicking its ass. Until next time, though.